Hello, everyone, and it's still Travolta month, almost at the end here. Just a couple more videos. Now, today we're going to be talking about two very popular films starring John Travolta. We've got the 1994 Tarantino classic Pulp Fiction, and we have the 1997 John Woo over the top beauty Face Off. That's right. The movie that inspired the series movie Face Off is going to be in the Face Off itself. This is going to be so much fun. So, both these films are very popular. Pulp Fiction and Face Off for different reasons. Face Off being an over the top 90s cheese action thrill ride, and Pulp Fiction for being intriguing, uh, out of chronological order crime films starring a slew of different characters. So, we got 5 rounds of this. Let's do this. Round 1, story. The story of Pulp Fiction is a little bit out of chronological order, but here's the gist of it. Jules and Vincent. Uh, Vincent played by Travolta and Jules played by Samuel L. Jackson. They go and retrieve a suitcase for the boss Marcellus. They accidentally shoot Marvin in the face in the car. They have to clean up the car in their clothes secretly. Then they go deliver the suit. Then they go to a cafe. The cafe gets held up at gunpoint by a couple criminals, but Jules and Vincent get out, deliver the suitcase. Jules goes on his way away from crime. Vincent takes Marcella's wife out for a good time, non-sexual. And then he later gets killed by a boxer who was asked to purposely lose a fight for Marcellus. Story of Face Off is that an FBI agent, played by Travolta, captures a terrorist who at one point killed his son, the terrorist played by Nicolas Cage. And while he caught him, they start trying to find a bomb that he planted. So in order to find out, they switch faces with each other. So Travolta, as Nicolas Cage, can talk to the terrorist brother to find out where the bomb is. But of course, then Nicolas Cage's character looks like John Travolta's character, and then action ensues. The story of Face Off is kind of stupid and ridiculous, but a little bit more simpler to follow along than Pulp Fiction, which has at least 3 different plot lines in the same movie. And it's done very well, don't get me wrong, but Face Off has a more simpler, more chronologically focused storyline. And you wouldn't really get into the story of Pulp Fiction unless you're willing to go along with the jumping back and forth between the timeline. So that being said, Face Off wins this round. Round 2, supporting cast. Face Off is focused on the characters of John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. You also have a couple other FBI agents, Travolta's family, Cage's brother, and a lot of other really minor characters, to be honest. I think at one point, James Masterson had a very small role in this movie, if I'm remembering that right. So while John Travolta in Pulp Fiction may not be the number 1 starring character, he is accompanied with a lot of other very good actors: Samuel L. Jackson, Bruce Willis, Uma Thurman. There are a lot of people attached to this movie that are really fun to watch as well. And so since this is really focused on a whole slew of other stories with a lot of other characters having to do their part as well, it's easy to say that Pulp Fiction wins the round of supporting cast. Now let's move on to round 3, the action. So Quentin Tarantino films are really more known for their dialogue and their talking back and forth than they are for action in most cases. I mean, Inglorious Bastards is a little bit of an exception, as well as Django Unchained at the end, but even then, a lot of people remember the dialogue a little bit more than the action. And the same can be said for Pulp Fiction. There's Jules and Vincent talking about feet. Don't ask. And there are some good action bits, but they're usually over and done with fairly quickly without a whole lot of like overblown bloodshed. There's bloodshed, but it's not really overblown. Face Off is directed by John Woo, so everything in this movie is over the top. We got shootouts in a church, in a secret hideout. You've got a prison riot. You've got a speedboat chase. And you've got a chase on the airport runway. There is so much extreme over-the-top action. It's hilariously awesome. Oh my god. And I swear, there are a couple moments in this film where both John Travolta or Nicolas Cage really take the spotlight with their just over-the-top performance in the action scene. So I guess what I'm saying is that this round obviously goes to Face Off. Man, this is going to be a shorter Face Off video than I would have thought it would be. Anyway, round 4, Atmosphere. Face Off is a movie that's filled with 90s cheese, over-the-top action, over-the-top performances. But they all work together in this environment, so that's good. But unless you're here looking for an actual serious, more grounded film, Face Off is probably not the movie for you. Pulp Fiction, on the other hand, okay, is admittedly more grounded compared to Face Off. And like I said, the dialogue is really the more memorable parts of this movie than really the action is, for the most part. And it's got some good stuff relating to certain central universal ideas and themes, which is always nice to actually see in a film, which gives it really more of a real world taste in comparison to Face Off, which is really in its own little world of, I'll just say, exploitive fun. So, the round of Atmosphere goes to Pulp Fiction. Now let's get to the 5th and final round. The Travolta man himself. How do I even do this? I mean, in Face Off, you have him doing some of the best over-the-top performances of his career. Oh my god, but it's hilarious. But in Pulp Fiction, while he may not be the number 1 starring character, he is in a lot of the story, and he's a more grounded character, but still has his memorable moments too. Like going to France, but eating McDonald's. Helping Marcel's wife cheat death by sticking a syringe right into her heart. It's a really memorable performance by John Travolta, so this makes this challenge a little more difficult to do. Do you go with the one that's actually trying to be a little bit more serious and succeeds on that front? Or you go for the one that's clearly over the top and having so much fun you just have to apply? This is a really over an apples and oranges comparison. But if I have to be serious, not a lot of people really talk about Face Off. I mean, they should, but for some reason, people just don't really talk about Face Off. I don't even think people really know it exists for the most part. Pulp Fiction, on the other hand, has a huge legacy. It's talked about by everyone. And Travolta's character, Vincent, is one of the main talking points when talking about Pulp Fiction. So with that in mind, while I absolutely love the over-top world of Face Off, I'm going to have to give this to Pulp Fiction, meaning that Pulp Fiction wins the Face Off against Face Off. I might have to bring Face Off back in the future just so that I can win the couple. Anyway, that's all I have to say for today. Comment down below, like, subscribe, share. We're in the end game, guys.